I was driven, my team were driven, and we made change happen really quickly.
I am joined today, this is very exciting, I have Alan Rance, who is the Managing Director, Chief Executive. He is the head honcho of Midas Pattern Co Limited, based in Bedford, who are a fascinating business. It's manufacturing, it's UK manufacturing, more importantly, and they make very, very high quality casings and mouldings for a range of industries, predominantly sort of medical devices. Alan, talk us through the Midas Green Initiative. When did it start? What was it all about?
Okay, well, one thing I'm going to add to your introduction there is the fact that I'm also a pattern maker and I'm also a tree hugger. So I think I'm in a good position to take this forward. Yeah, the Midas Green Initiative began on April the 18th, 2019 at 8 p.m. on a Thursday evening.
Right.
I happened to be sitting watching TV and I watched a programme called Climate Change the Facts with David Attenborough and Greta Thunberg. And it changed my life forever. It was an hour of intense epiphany. And I vowed in those moments and through the following weekend that I wasn't going to carry on in the way that I'd been carrying on. I decided I was going to change my personal carbon footprint and I was going to change the footprint of Midas as well. I was going to do everything I could to try and make amends for my carbon intensive past.
Where did you start? What was your kind of initial thought process?
Okay, I'm very lucky. I've got some colleagues that are exceptionally green, that live very green lifestyles. I was able to use them as a sounding board within the first few days. We realised that the bulk of our carbon footprint was made from procured energy, electricity, gas, and deliveries, obviously fossil fuel driven vehicles. So the very obvious thing before we got down to the fine detail was to make those big changes, the low hanging fruit. So within a couple of weeks we'd signed up for 100% green electricity, not greenwash electricity. We bought 100% genuinely green electricity from Ecotricity. We knew that that was legitimate. Within about 3 weeks, we'd signed a deal with a company that offered us 100% biogas. Up to that point, I think the strongest blend was 13% biogas with natural gas. We signed up for 100% biogas. That negated all the carbon in the gas that we used. And we started to look at our deliveries. And when you think that we were running around making deliveries in diesel fueled vans, we started to look at electric deliveries. We also very quickly realised that we needed to use solar. We had no solar power. We wanted to signal intent. Obviously, we didn't have any need to generate our own power because we were buying legitimately green electricity. But I knew that if we installed the biggest solar system we could, two things would happen. One is that we would be able to demonstrate the Midas Green Initiative to everybody that drove past our premises. It's a very visual indication of a company trying to do the right thing in terms of carbon reduction. But it would also give us legitimate offsets. Obviously, we can't use all the power that we generate. So the offsets that came from the power that we exported, we used to offset the carbon in the diesel that fueled our vans at that time. Right. So those things happened within a few short weeks. And I figure that that accounted for something like 90% of our carbon footprint, essentially overnight. When we thought this through, it became very clear that this process is not complex. It is not difficult. So when you look at things through a simplistic lens, you can make changes really quickly. As you say, I am owner and sole shareholder, but I do have a team of very green people around me. So it isn't like I had to persuade anybody. I was driven, my team were driven, and we made change happen really quickly.
So going back to your, you're sitting there on a Sunday evening, you're watching the TV, you're seeing all this unfold and having this kind of realization of what impact you are having on carbon emissions and the sort of the wider environmental issues. So you start down this journey. Did you at any point think about those broader impacts? Did you have any inclination that if you were going to do this, all of a sudden you would change your relationship? You'd improve your relationship, if you like, with your suppliers, with your supply chains, with your customers. Did you think there was going to be that level of of impact?
I'll be honest with you, sales and marketing and the development of Midas as a successful business is obviously not lost on me. I've spent my entire life making and selling. So of course I thought that if we made Midas more attractive, then we potentially would sell more, of course. But the reality is that wasn't my driving force. My driving force was, come what may, I'm going to make Midas carbon net zero, and then I'll carry on. And if Midas isn't as successful, or if Midas turns a corner and takes a different direction to one that I'd imagined, then so be it. I wanted a clear conscience. I didn't have a clear conscience when I began, because obviously we were completely embedded in fossil fuel. So we went for that, we made that happen. And of course, the more we did, the more I realised that Midas would become more attractive. If the world was full of green people, we would have a limitless order book, we would be expanding exponentially, we would be hugely successful. Sadly, at this point, the world is not full of green people, but for those companies that do want to be green, that do understand the need to reduce carbon, we are the go-to supplier. We are the exemplary plastics manufacturer. We are the responsible plastics manufacturer, and I think that makes us more attractive than we were before the Midas Green Initiative began.
Good. Thank you very much for that brief introduction into the Midas Green Initiative. We're going to unpack a whole load of those different issues as we go over the course of this interview. So thank you very much